How many of you have ever experienced or fear experiencing the death of someone you love? Doesn't have to be death. Maybe you lost your job or your home. It doesn't matter what kind of loss it was. If you experienced anything like that, then you'll be able to relate to this topic in particular. According to Michelle Roya, a professional psychologist, losing something we value is a part of life no one can escape. Loss will come in many different shapes and forms, and nobody is exempt to it. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do in life, it's always going to find a way to get you, sooner or later. Although it is inevitable, however, there are efficient coping mechanisms that may help lift some of that weight off your shoulders. Over the next few minutes, I'll share with you three coping mechanisms I use to help me to get through the darkest stages of my life in hopes that maybe the advice that I give you or three methods that worked for me will be able to provide some help for you. In 2017, which is almost 4 years ago now, I went through something unimaginable. I lost my little sister. She was only 14 at the time of her death after having fought cancer for 2 whole years. The loss felt so unnatural and at times unbearable, but I managed to fight my way through. I believe that it may have been a little bit harder because she was younger than me and because, as her older sibling, I expected to always be the one that had to protect her. On top of that, I had to be a support system for my mother, which turned out to be an entire challenge all on its own. No two people grieve the same, so that's one thing that you should know from the beginning. We're all different, and we all approach loss on our own way. However, setting aside time to grieve, surrounding yourself with people you love, and redefining happiness are three of the most effective ways you can help get through loss. Now, let's take a look at why it's very important to take time to grieve. Setting aside specific time to allow yourself to heal is very important to the healing process. The counseling center at the University of Washington describes grieving as a necessary process to free up energy that is tied to the lost, and you learn to reinvest that energy somewhere else. You really have to allow your body to feel and confront that grief no matter how painful it may be. Think of it as when you're fighting a cold. Sometimes, we want to take medicine, we want to get a flu shot, we want to do everything that we feel we might have to do to be able to fight this cold. But in reality, as long as we allow our body to fight it, allow our body to learn how to defend itself, then that's really the best way, and it's usually the way it ends up planning out. Loss is no different. Loss is tough, and it's not meant to be easy. Learn to accept and live with the feeling as well. Don't avoid the feeling in hopes that they will subside or go away on their own, because they're not going to. Don't be afraid of the emotions, and they're coming from the loss and they're real. Your body is going to learn to make sense of them eventually, so trust your body. Research shows that people who do not deal with their negative emotions in a healthy way have so many more psychological problems as well as physiological problems. And this is coming from psychologist Michelle Roya. Make sure you schedule time to grieve and allow yourself to cry. You suffered a great loss, so do not add any unnecessary pressure to yourself by expecting the pain to pass quickly or feel like you've already been doing it or feeling the pain enough. Life is going to get tougher, but you will find a way to get through it. Really dedicate time to grieving and learn to form a healthy balance in your life as you work through those feelings. Now, I know I mentioned grieving is important, and it is, but you do not have to do it alone. In fact, staying surrounded by close family and friends is another very good, effective way of coping with loss. So surround yourself with people you love and talk to people you trust. Find strength and comfort in your loved ones. Share good memories, recall funny stories, or talk about your feelings with those people who you trust. You're not expected to deal with things on your own. So learn to rely on your family or friends or anybody that you know, a pet. You can even find strength in being someone else's support system. Together, you can find a way through a tough loss. And a lot of the times, when you're really desperate to have any reason to hold on, being somebody else's system, that responsibility is sometimes enough to get you through it. So always consider that as one of the options that you have. A study conducted by Piedmont Healthcare found that those who surround themselves with supportive friends and family experience a very stronger sense of life, a meaning of life and like self-worth and purpose. It's with those people that you begin to get a sense of why you want to live again. During tough times, you hold on and seek places and comfort with people you love. It's important to remind yourself that you're not alone. Find people you trust and keep them close to you. Ask for help when you need it and task your family with keeping track of you. Maybe let a close friend know that you're not doing so well and that they should be checking on you every once in a while. It's better to think ahead sometimes and be prepared for these things. You want to make sure that you're thinking about your well-being as much as you're thinking about what's going on in your life at that moment. Now that we've taken a look at those two coping mechanisms that have been very effective, let's take a look at what comes next, which is your future, which is very scary at times. However, making plans and learning to redefine happiness in your life will start to restore pleasure, and hope will start to slowly come back into your life. Accept that life will never be the same, but you can learn to redefine what happiness means to you. Learning to live, love, and be happy again sometimes requires an adjustment in outlook in life. This was said by Julie Ann of everydayhealth.com. This means that you will have to put effort in figuring out what comes next. You can't expect things to pick up where they left off after a loss, or expect for the feelings to go away and then everything is suddenly okay as it once was before. You have to understand that your life is no longer going to be the same. According to the Semel Institute of Neuroscience and Human Behavior, you must learn to adjust your expectations after a loss. It sounds harsh and it doesn't sound like something that we want to do, but it's something that you must learn to do for survival. Empty the glass and forget everything you thought you once knew. And be patient as you get to know yourself again, and remember that change is okay. There is a chance that you'll no longer find pleasure in things you once enjoyed. You might even feel like a completely different person. I know for me personally, there was a lot of things that I couldn't even bear to do that I once loved and that I once cared so much for. So make plans and set new goals for yourself. Allow yourself to explore life and find a new meaning to it. This will help keep your mind busy, and you can use that pain from your loss to fuel your motivation to accomplish your goals. You may not be the same person you once were, but now you're equipped with this fire and this drive and hunger to want to push through this loss. We've now discussed 3 different, very effective coping mechanisms when dealing with a tough loss. Although my experience comes from a family member, setting aside time to grieve, surrounding yourself with loved ones, and redefining happiness are healthy coping mechanisms that can help get you through any loss. It could even be, as I had mentioned earlier before, let's say you lose your car. Go ahead and get close to your family. If you lost your home, reach out to people you love. Set time aside to allow yourself to be sad about those kinds of things. It's okay to feel out the feelings. Let your body go through the natural process of learning to deal with these kind of disappointments and hurtful parts of life. Coping with loss is unique to each individual, and no 2 individuals will cope the same. It's important, however, to be aware of the different ways that you can cope. And remember to always grieve, to love, and to remember to learn how to be happy again. That is the most important thing you can do. As I mentioned earlier, staying away from a loss or trying to, get out of that kind of thing, it's almost inevitable. This is life, and unfortunately, sooner or later, things are going to come up that are going to require us to really take a step back and learn to take care of ourselves. And during a loss like that, these three mechanisms that I shared with you are very effective to me. When I was going through this, I remember I was reaching out. I was doing also a lot of looking up. That's where I found this information with Piedmont Healthcare, with Michelle Roya, because I also once seeked out this information because I was once on the other end trying to find a way out. If you learn to apply these three, they can help you get through so much in your life. First of all, as I said, making time to feel it out and to grieve is going to be your number one thing. Do not feel like you are taking too much time. Do not feel like you're being selfish for wanting to take time on your own. It is 100% necessary to do it. Surrounding yourself with loved ones as well. Sometimes we want to be alone, and sometimes we'll choose to be alone. But always remember that it is important to reach out to them just as it is for them as it is for you. You have to remember why you have the family you have, or one day maybe you'll be grieving another loss and you're going to wish you had that kind of time. So definitely learn to rely on your family or friends. And finally, redefining happiness is possibly the hardest one, but one of the most rewarding ones. It is okay that you are no longer the same person after that loss. It's okay. You're not expected to be. You took a huge trauma, and you learned to work with it again, and you learned to find meaning in life again, and that is going to require a lot from your part. So accept that your life is going to require new definitions for happiness, and you might have to reset some new goals for yourself. Other than that, I wish everybody the best. I hope that you take this advice and you apply it when it's needed, and I wish you everybody the best. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great night.